It's Shootin the Bull, a podcast by Idaho Department of Fish and Game.
Roger, you have a great podcast voice.
Boy, thank you.
Yeah, it's
Much
wonderful.
appreciated.
Yeah, I know you really didn't want to hear that, but
We're going for podcasting.
I'm modeling off of Charlton Heston, but I think nobody remembers who he is, even though he was Moses.
I was going to say, fairly important.
Yep. People are going to be writing in, Roger, that they want to have you back.
More Roger Phillips.
Yeah.
More Moses.
More Moses. All right. You're listening to Shootin the Bull, and joining us today, we got Ben Bieri,
I'm
digital
right here.
content specialist, sitting across. Roger Phillips, which is a bonus surprise, public information supervisor. But getting to the meat of the conversation today, we got Tara Reichert, our license operations manager, and Alex Erickson, who's going to be talking about customer and vendor relations. So welcome, you guys.
Thanks for having us.
Tara, welcome back.
Yeah, time number
repeat
2.
Customer. I'm honored.
The first.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Write
if
it
you're
down in the
hearing a
history book.
familiar voice, what did we talk about the last time? Was it
Sam
e-tagging?
Steelhead, yeah.
Yeah, e-tagging.
That was way back.
Yeah, feels like it was a year ago.
Podcasts ago.
Yeah.
Multiple podcasts
Under a
ago.
different name.
Not Tara's.
No, podcast.
Oh.
So today we're
yeah.
shooting the bull, talking about the non-resident tag sale. So Tara, you're kind of the expert in this. You're going to have all kinds of information, dispelling myths, rumors, whatever you want to call it. Kind of explain, first off, how the non-resident tag sale is going to look different this year.
Yeah, so in years past, for many, many years past, actually, we've been selling non-resident tags over the counter, or first come, first serve, starting in the month of December, which basically means you walk up to the counter, you ask for the tag you want, and it's over the counter, you're off to the races. Since 2021, that's felt quite a bit different, actually. Before 2021, that was kind of an all-year thing. You could be a non-resident, show up for your fall season, walk up to the gas station, grab your case of beer and your license, and you're out to the field. But since 2021, when we limited non-residents by unit and zone, December has been a race to the finish, I'll say. We've been selling out of tags pretty much on day one in that over-the-counter process. And since 2021, it's become a bit of a challenge to get a non-resident over-the-counter tag. So this year, instead of doing it over-the-counter or first come, first serve, we're going to do an application and random draw process, which if any of our non-resident folks are familiar with controlled hunts, for example, or limited hunts in other Western states, that's the process where you'll submit an application with your hunting license, we'll put it through a random draw, and successful folks will be able to pick up those tags later in January.
What drove this change?
Lots of stuff. So like I mentioned in 2021, when we limited non-residents by unit and zone and that sellout happened, we created a lot of weird, honestly, with how non-residents were able to get those tags. One, it was a single day sellout, right? So all these non-residents were having to take off work, leave work, find someone to watch their kids so they could fly to Idaho, sit in front of their computer for 6-8 hours in one day, just for the hope and wish that they might get a good place in line and get a tag. And what all of that did was created a little bit of inequity, right? So there's the guy that couldn't take off work because he's a long distance trucker or he's got a meeting that day, or a parent that couldn't leave their kid to fly to Idaho. And the folks that could actually take the time to be off work or come to Idaho maybe felt like they had a better chance, a better bite at the apple than the rest of non-residents. So that feeling of inequity definitely was there. And it created also just a lot of confusion. People weren't sure what's happening. The system would crash every now and then. People kind of panic buying and hoping they're buying the right tag. Vendors maybe were underprepared for this big mega sale, and so people were confused about what tag options they had. So it's a race to the finish. It's confusing. It wasn't quite fair for everyone. So we went to the public and said, well, what do you guys want? Like, what about this was such a struggle that we need to reevaluate what it looks like? And that really led to a domino effect of getting the commission involved, getting a public advisory group created, and actually creating brand new rules with the commission to make this draw process happen.
When did that happen? When did the commission approve it?
The commission approved formally that this was going to happen in May of this year, May 2025. But that really, the conversation started in summer of 2024. That's when we got the non-resident tag issuance advisory group together, which was a group of members of the public, sportsmen at large, outfitters, all kinds of folks in the room, and said, what do you want? And they used basically the late half of 2024 to come up with recommendations that we brought to the commission in January 25. And from January to May, we were kind of working through the details of what that might look like. And then in May, the commission said, let's go, let's do it.
So very thorough in the pursuit of figuring out what people wanted.
I'd agree. Yeah. I mean, that public advisory group put themselves through the ringer, really. They said, what's the problem? How can we fix it? And is a draw really the right way to do it? They walked and put their thoughts through the paces of, is this over-the-counter method actually the best for the non-resident public? Is it a draw, or is it some other wild scenario we've actually never come up with before? And through all of that, this is kind of where they landed.
What were some of the other methods or ideas that they came up with during that advisory group?
Nothing too crazy, to be honest. We're not pioneering this, right? We're not coming up with some crazy new thing. People have been issuing high demand tags in the West for a long time. And so we used a lot of Western states as a base model for, is this a good idea or not? And so there really isn't a whole lot of crazy out there. When we start talking about outfitters and things like that, that gets a little bizarre, like some cool draw options to draw your outfitter and that kind of thing. But really, is it over the counter, or are you applying for a draw? And
Gotcha.
So thankfully, that really narrowed our playing field a little bit to decide what was best.
If you're looking at it that way, 50-50, which are more Western states doing? And were we kind of were we late to the game? Are we kind of in the middle?
I'd say we were the last holdout for true over-the-counter non-resident tags.
Okay.
And in a good way, I think Idaho had a lot of pride in that. We were really holding on to that tradition and making the opportunity available as easy as possible for hunters. It just became too high demand, which is awesome for our state, right? That's folks that want to be here and want to get out in the field. And so as much as we were late in the game, we were really the last holdout in the West.
Yeah.
And then the reality is it's a little bit of a money conversation. If you didn't know, Fish and Game is a self-funded agency. Unlike almost all other Idaho state government entities, we don't receive general tax dollars. We don't receive general funds. Outside of some grants and federal grants, we are funded by the sale of licenses and tags, the large majority of that being non-resident hunters.
Right.
And with us moving away from this instant sellout date in December, where we knew there was kind of this base amount of cash that we could plan for, we don't know what this draw is going to do, Yeah. And so it's a little bit of an opportunity for us to feel like we're moving forward fiscally whole, because we have to be. Without being fiscally whole, Idaho Fish and Game can't do conservation work because money's not in the bank.
Right.
So it's skin in the game. It's making sure that we feel fiscally whole moving forward. And it's to make sure, when we actually run the draw, everyone's got that hunting license in hand and they're ready to buy their tag.
That's a really good point.
You said tradition. I could see it being a tradition for a lot of guys that would take off, like you explained, take off work and make a whole week out of it or whatever to come to Idaho and buy their.
It's almost like it's second hunt.
Yeah.
You're sitting out in the
In
December Idaho
tailgate.
weather prepping.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. So we had the tag issuance advisory group. What was the step, or what were some of the steps after that led to where we're at now?
So once the advisory group came to the commission with recommendations, and obviously the commission had to review those. What that actually ended up doing was creating what's called temporary rule. The ability for us to issue these tags over the counter or a draw or whatever option we were going to come up with is actually established in Idaho Administrative Code. And so when the commission said in January of 25, this is probably the route we need to go, staff actually came back and worked with the director's office and worked with the legislature, because there's kind of a formal process to get temporary rule implemented, and from January to March-ish really worked through that administrative process to get this all formalized, which then led to what we got in May, which was the formal approval from the commission, which came along with very finalized rule to let us do this in December of the upcoming year.
Okay. Were commissioners hearing from from hunters and from sportsmen and women directly with any of these suggestions at all?
Yeah, I definitely think there were some very vocal stakeholders, particularly in some of our areas where we're bordering other states, right?
Okay.
I think over time, who they heard from the most were a lot of local vendors that were struggling with their business on these days where, they were having to staff up 20%, 50% to get these tags out the door. And so those folks were feeling it in their local community. And then sportsmen's groups that were speaking on behalf of non-residents. So
Gotcha.
Alex is sitting here with us, and a large part of your role is dealing with. I say that that's probably not the right word. You have a relationship with all these external vendors. What did it look like for them on these sale days? Like parking lots full. Like I'm thinking of a Jackson's in, I don't know, some small town somewhere.
Arco.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What did it look like in Arco?
Yeah. So, pretty hectic. Close your eyes and imagine a Black Friday kind of scenario, where you got a whole bunch of people standing there waiting, which vendors, to their credit, had a lot of effort to try to make that a positive experience, right? So back to that tradition thing, it actually here at the region office and a lot of vendors had a tradition, and they'd have the same people coming in for years, and they go out and give them hot chocolate and have them all sit around and talk about the hunt that they plan on doing. And so we've gotten feedback from a lot of vendors that they actually enjoyed that part. Having said that, it's a very large body of work. Anybody who's ever worked retail, and I think it's important to call out that these folks, they're not just selling hunting and fishing licenses. They have a whole variety of other products, and a lot of them, it's more of a community service, selling hunting and fishing licenses. So a very large amount of resources on their part dedicated to this sale, which can be challenging for a small business.
Yeah, and there should be a lot of grace given too, because a lot of these vendors aren't set up and have the same infrastructure and context that we do just at all of our regional offices and headquarters and stuff. Like if there are really specific questions that a hunter comes in and is like asking about unit 54 and the vendor's just like, I don't know.
Yeah. Do you want coffee with this or not?
Yeah. So there's definitely some grace given.
Yep. Yeah. And they do their absolute best. And I would say overall, they do an amazing job. We also have a great customer base that puts in a lot of work to try to come out and hunt in Idaho. So the vast majority of people give a lot of grace to the vendors, and it's been a positive experience overall. But I would say it's been hectic and stressful.
Do you think for some of them it'll be like celebrated that they don't have to do this anymore? Will it be bittersweet? Like the tradition thing,
I would say 8 out of 10 vendors are happy we're going to this move. There are some that enjoyed that aspect of being able to talk with customers and have customers come into their business. But overall, this is just a very busy time of year for them. This is I referenced Black Friday. When we have our sale, Black Friday, Thanksgiving, that was the week before. So they've already been going through their busiest time of year, and then they got
Christmas is right around the corner.
Exactly. Yeah. So
well, you could at some of those gas stations get a bunch of stuff done all in one foul swoop.
Yeah.
Get some Christmas shopping done, get a tag picked up, and feed yourself.
That's all you need.
Yeah.
I was going to ask, maybe you don't know these numbers off the top of your head, but what were statistically, what were some of the percentages of people that would go to vendors as opposed to fish and game offices versus online?
Yeah, I don't have specific numbers, but high level. What I could say is that the number of people going to vendors year over year since we started doing this in 2021 just increased every single year. People kind of started realizing that, hey, my odds of actually getting a tag in my hand are better if I go to a physical vendor and I'm number 2 in line instead of maybe being whatever number I am when I go online. So towards the end, I think we were looking at 40.
It was almost half and half. We
Yeah.
went from like less
High
than
40%.
10%
Yeah.
Half and half being Fish and Game offices versus vendors.
online versus in person at vendors
Gotcha,
and
okay.
regional offices. Yeah.
Yep.
So that was a big part of this, wasn't this? Is just the unsustainability of seeing that continued growth and seeing rather than a few dozen people to hundreds to possibly even thousands showing up at these various locations and hoping to get a tag. And then when they don't, they've just spent a lot of time and resources to go home empty-handed and kind of preventing that disappointment.
Yeah. I mean, anecdotally, we, for example, here at Boise HQ manage the sale here, and we'd have north of 100 folks out there camped out for days plus. I think there were some regions that had them sitting out there for a week in December.
Jeez.
Trying to go after a tag. So, and our staff, and I would add vendors to that, are really dedicated. They want to help out customers. So it's hard for them to have to tell somebody who's been sitting out all night, just in hopes of getting this tag, hey, sorry, they're all sold out. That's a rough conversation to have that, frankly, none of us really enjoy, and I know they definitely don't enjoy hearing it. So,
Go ahead, Roger.
No, I was going to say, so, for folks who are going to be new to this, both as, the first year of the drawing and also may or may not be familiar with our controlled hunt applications, what's some of the similarities and the differences there that they might experience, and what's kind of those key things you want them to know when they go online and apply for these things, the things that they really need to know, and also the mistakes that we might see or be concerned about that they should know about before they go through this process the first time.
Yeah. I think just to address the harder one first, the mistakes that we might see are folks applying for something that they didn't realize they were applying for. So I'll do a big plug right here. Non-residents should be doing their research now, right? We've got our big game season and rules brochure published. It's out there online for everyone on our website. Go ahead and take a look. What elk zones are you interested in? What deer units are you interested in? Where are you flying into? You going into Spokane or Boise? That makes a lot of difference in what you should be planning for. So go ahead and start that now. That's probably your biggest mistake. As far as process and what's going to look like for those folks, first thing is going to be they're going to have to buy an Idaho hunting license valid for 2026. And it has to be valid for big game. We've got small game and non-game licenses too, but valid for big game in 2026.
Is that new for this upcoming draw?
Yep. Okay. That's a new requirement. Previously with that over-the-counter process, when you were buying your tag, so you definitely were about to get it in hand, you'd have to grab that license. So different than that, you have to upfront get your license before you're even eligible to apply.
So everybody has to have an Idaho hunting license.
That's right. Yep.
And then to add on to that they need to make sure that it's a 2026 license and not a 2025 license.
100%. So the month of December is a fun month for folks buying Idaho licenses because you can still buy a current year or 2025 license, but next year's stuff is on sale too. So good call out. That's another mistake we might see of accidentally grabbing that 25 license instead of 26.
Yeah. No, I know now the framework's all laid out and everything for this December tag sale, but was that a consideration of moving it to January so that it was all within the same span of that year?
The timing of this whole thing was a really big part of our conversation. So Idaho's had some pride in being one of the first states to offer next year's products to non-residents. It helps you plan earlier. It keeps us competitive and in demand, which is important for us. Mm-hmm. What we don't want to happen is for Idaho to become a second option state, right? These folks that are really jazzed to come out here, we don't want them to apply in 7 other Western states, and Idaho doesn't do their draw until March, and they've made all these plans that they found out about in January and February, and we're kind of behind the 8 ball, which is to say, yep, we chose December, 1, with consistency. It's been December for a long time, and 2, to continue to be first and in demand.
Okay.
Yep. So once you've got that 2026 Idaho license, you'll be able to apply for the tag that you want. So you'll have a separate application for a deer tag if you want to apply for deer, and a separate application for elk if you want to apply for elk. You can apply for both totally. You can use the same license for both of those, but there will be a separate application. There's no application fee for folks that have applied in other states where there's the license fee plus an application fee. It's just going to be your hunting license. And then when you're applying for deer or elk, you actually have 5 choices on that application. That was also a big factor in our conversations, was how many choices should we give someone?
Yeah.
And 5 felt like the number to, if folks only had one choice, they know they want to go hunt the sawtooth, they can just apply for sawtooth. But if they're an equal opportunity hunter and they just are really excited to get a tag, throw in 5 choices, and that really changes the statistics on the likelihood of you grabbing a tag. And even better, all of those choices can be coupled with a group application. So again, that over-the-counter process was one and done. You could buy for you, and then once you bought for you, you either had to go to the back of the line online, or you had to start the purchase process all over again if you were in person, which made it really tough for hunting groups to get a tag together, especially with them selling out just so fast.
Yeah.
So this says, all right, you want all 4 of your hunting buddies to apply together. All 4 of you get the same application with the same choices, and you're either all successful together or you're all not successful together. And so you all get that tag.
Right.
And from a customer service standpoint, that's probably the largest feedback we've heard over the years. For a lot of people, hunting is a, community, family kind of event. So they want to be able to go and hunt together. Additionally, Idaho is a pretty rugged place. And so there's a lot of folks who, hey, this is my first Western big game hunt, and I frankly just don't feel comfortable going into the Frank Church by myself. And I think there's some validity to that. So having a group application, I think, is a big win for a lot of non-residents out there who have been really looking to be able to, hunt with their friends and their family.
Let's highlight the dates.
Well, real quick, I have a question.
Go for it.
With those choices, you said there's 5 choices. Are they weighted similar to like a controlled hunt, where your first choice is like that's your top, and then they kind of gradually break down from that?
Yeah, so your first choice is your first choice. That's
Okay.
the first one you're hoping for. And to kind of get into the guts of the draw a little bit, when we grab all those applications that have been submitted, we basically shake the hat and give everyone a random number. And all of those applications get a random number, and they go top to bottom, the lowest random number. So if your random number is 1, we're going to look at you first, and we look at your first choice. And then we go to random number 2 and look at your first choice. And so we're going to look at all of the applications and all of their first choices and try to award those out. Then after all first choices are done, we go to your second choice and do the whole thing over again. Third choice, whole thing over again, all the way through the end of 5th choices.
Okay. And then you mentioned too the random selection of this process. I think a question that we're probably going to get asked after this first time is, well, how are they picked? How do you pick something at random? Is it like a computer program thing? Is it us using that fertilizer spreader thing downstairs that you
The roller that looks like a chili.
Yeah.
Cooking chili.
Yeah.
So how, is it our licensed vendor? How does that process play out?
Yep, it is our licensed vendor, and that's actually required by statute for us to run draws through a third party. And our licensed vendor is through a university certified random. So their logic, their code behind the scenes, so to speak, was sent off to a third party to review, and it's been certified completely random, meaning everything that grabs those applications and gives them a random number is truly random. Nothing's weighted to say, a resident gets preference versus a non-resident, a youth goes first, a gal goes first. It's all random.
Okay, cool.
I had a quick question or kind of an observation, because people have asked me this question many, many times. It's like, okay, there's 5 of us who are applying, or did you say, was that the max or 4?
4. 5 choices, 4 members.
So 4 people, and people want to know, well, how are my odds better if we all apply individually or we apply as a group? Kind of explain how that process works. Because my understanding is you have X number of tags, you still have 4 choices or 4 drawing random choices, whatever you want to call it. If one draws, then all 4 of them if they're a group application. But if there's not enough tags left in the hat, and you draw one of those with 4, then possibly you might not get them. Is that accurate?
You're right on the money.
Okay.
Yep. When we get to that last tag or last handful of tags and we hit a group and there's not enough tags left to award that full group, we skip the group and go to the next random number.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Yep.
But as far as, so if you wanted to take your chances on the 4 of your buddies going in individually, there is, I would say, slightly better odds for each individual, but very less odds of all 4 drawing.
Yep, well said. I'm not a stats gal. That's not my thing, but agreed.
Neither's
yeah.
Roger.
Well, yeah, that's
Yes,
why I wanted
yes.
to say
Why
that
would I-
out loud, so you could
Definitely
say, yeah.
not a stats gal.
Now we'll tell you what actually happened. So.
All right, so say I'm a non-resident. What does the timeline look like from, you already mentioned right now I should be kind of scouting, reading the regs, figuring out what I want to pursue. But starting in December, what does that timeline look like?
Yep. So December 1st, licenses for 2026 go on sale. So not our tags yet. Applications are open, but if you want to be proactive and get ready to go, you can buy your license starting the 1st. Applications open December the 5th, and they're open for 10 days. They're open the 5th through the 15th. And at midnight Mountain Time on the 15th, those close. We won't take any more applications for the first application period after that closes at midnight. And that's when we shake the hat.
Okay.
After midnight on the 15th, we'll start shaking the hat, giving those random numbers out, and doing the actual draw process to get those tags issued. The goal right now is to have all those tags issued or awarded, I guess, to folks in early January. And then once we announce those results for folks that won, they'll have to January 20th to buy that tag. So that's probably the biggest date to keep in mind is that January 20th date. If you win in that first draw and you don't buy by the 20th, you forfeited your tag and it goes to the next application period for another hunter.
Okay.
And if you're awarded in that first application period, you're done for the application drawing process. You can't apply again in the second.
Okay. Now, I'm playing devil's advocate here. We're looking at December 5th through January 20th. And some people might be like, well, that's a really long time to pick a random number or pick a random name. Why does it take so long?
Yeah, that's a question we get, I would say, all the time from the public.
Yeah. Why don't you just push the button?
Yeah, just push the button, let it run.
Just tell me I didn't win already, please.
I'd be remiss to not point out that the last couple years that process has gotten shorter and shorter in our controlled hunt drawing process, and it's because we've just become more efficient in what that process looks like, and I expect that to roll over into this process as well because they're so similar, that controlled process as well as this draw process. But the guts of it is we validate every single part of this process. Before we even start shaking the hat, we look at every single application and make sure it's eligible. Did you void your license for some reason between your application and now? You know, did someone update your date of birth and all of a sudden you're a youth that's not qualified for the hunt? Like we take a nitpicky look at every single application that's submitted to make sure it should actually be in the draw.
And to keep it fair.
Absolutely, yeah. Did Connor accidentally put in 17 applications?
Probably.
I've got to call him and talk to him, and I'm going to void 16 of his applications. Maybe 17 if I'm feeling sassy.
Mm-hmm. But is also the part of requiring that hunting license then up front is to kind of check that balance then before you say you award the tag to somebody and you find out, oh, this tag is, or this license is voided, or this person has whatever.
You know, why we're asking for a hunting license up front is a loaded question, to be truthful. It's one we're hearing a lot of questions about. You know, it feels like a money grab to some people that we're just asking you to buy this license for a chance at a tag. And there's a couple reasons we went that route. Kind of to your point, a little bit of skin in the game, right? And odds and equity. If any old person can just put their name in the hat, that overall changes your odds of drawing a tag because there's just more names in the hat.
Yeah.
If you're willing to upfront that, $195 to be part of the draw, that means you're really committed. And that likely means you're going to buy your tag when you win, which means we're not going to roll those tags all year long and just in perpetuity not sell them, which is not a great option for folks that didn't win in the first application period, right? That feels pretty unfair to them.
Sure.
I think it's also important to call out, when you purchase this license, if you don't draw, there's still a lot of opportunity to come and enjoy Idaho. We have bear tags, wolf tags, turkey tags that are still over the counter. So while you can't get a refund if you don't draw, there is still a lot of other things you can come to Idaho to do. If you decided to apply separately and from your buddies, they drew and you didn't, I talk to more and more people who go that route and say, you know what, I'm going to come out and I'll be the caller for my buddy for elk, or I'm going to grab bear tag and I'll go after bear at the same time. So
Yeah.
there still is a lot of other opportunities out there if you purchase a tag.
So what you're saying is like, while you're this time of the year, while you're scouting out the regs and figuring out which hunts you want to do for deer and elk, why not put together a little plan B hunt or something for turkeys or
There's a lot of areas in Idaho that there's multiple opportunities happening at the same time.
Yeah. So. Very cool. So I take it is this going to be a one and done, or are there second opportunities to draw tags?
Yeah. So if any of those tags that aren't purchased by that January 20th deadline date will roll over into a second application period. That application period's February 5th through the 15th, so really similar to those December dates. And again, we'll run the draw for a couple days, and then we'll get those results announced in March. And March 20th will be the deadline to purchase those second application period tags. And that said, if for some reason there's still tags on the table after that March 20th date, we'll roll back into our return tag sale options.
Oh, okay.
So for folks that don't know, current state, and the state will continue, is tags we get back in the hopper for whatever reason, it never sold, someone is eligible for a true refund, they exchange away from their tag for their controlled hunt, whatever.
Yeah.
We offer these over-the-counter sales throughout the year to get those tags back out the door, and those are absolutely still going to be part of the plan.
How do you folks even learn about those dates? They seem like they kind of just pop up kind of randomly, maybe from the outside perspective, but how do folks stay in the know on those?
Yeah, there is a webpage on our website that lists all of the upcoming year dates. Do we have show notes?
Yeah,
Drop it in the
sure
show
do.
notes.
Drop it in the show notes. I'll put a link in the show notes. Okay.
Yeah, we'll link to that page. We should have those dates ready to go by December so that you can go ahead and plan that out if you want to. But those should be available about a year in advance for folks to plan for.
Okay, cool.
I have a quick question on the application period itself, because it's compared to controlled hunts, which for big game is about 5 weeks. It's about 10 days. Some folks might be wanting to apply for the first time. Maybe they don't have their hunter ed certification maybe handy. Maybe they don't have their bow hunter education certification handy. What kind of advice do you give to those folks who are going online to try to apply? You know, that seems like a really tight window if people find out on December 1st that they don't have these things and then trying to get them in the system. What advice would you have for them?
Be proactive. We can get that up and going for you right now. If you know you have your hunter ed number, or you don't know what your hunter ed number is, reach out to us. Our licenses office has an email inbox that we're monitoring all day long. And we're adding hunter ed, we're adding your bow hunter safety, we're adding your disabled American veteran certification for veterans out there that can apply for those discounted tags. We do that all day, every day. So go ahead and find that stuff now so you can reach out to us and get it added to your profile. And if for some reason it's December 5th and you want to apply and you can't find that stuff, well, great. You've got 10 days to find it. We'll help you out if you can't find it, and you should be good to go.
Yeah. So like one of the tags that I always put in for is always comes like the following year. So it's like a late winter cow tag or something that falls in the following calendar year. For those types of hunts, how does a person go about buying their license for that following year if they're not available until December of that upcoming year?
So currently, there aren't any general season hunts that flop over the calendar year like that.
Okay.
So the example you have are some of our controlled hunts. Mm-hmm. And the difference between those is actually a great point. We're selling these non-resident general season tags through a draw process. They're not a controlled hunt. Their seasons aren't changing. And they are very different seasonally than our controlled hunts, which are a very limited number of tags. Their seasons are usually very restricted, so that you have kind of this primo opportunity kind of hunt, which is not to say a general season tag can't have an excellent hunt on it, but it does usually have more hunters on the landscape, longer seasons, and they're quite a bit different than the structure of a controlled hunt tag. And right now, there's no general seasons that flop over like a January controlled hunt does.
Gotcha. Okay. Thanks for clearing that up.
Yeah.
A quick one. So people who are familiar with some of our controlled hunts know that, you have to wait a year if you get a bull or a buck tag, but that's different with this draw, is it not? They're eligible every year for these non-resident general tags.
Totally. A great question after Connor's comment. It's because they're general season tags. Those controlled hunt waiting period rules totally don't apply here. They're general season tags, no restrictions on year over year what you can apply for.
Now, I mean, the bulk of this, what we're talking about today, is geared towards non-residents, obviously. But a thing that I wanted to bring up and talk about is, again, playing devil's advocate here. A question we see a lot from resident hunters in Idaho is, well, you guys are taking all the tags away from me. Can you explain how that is not true, and also how the tags are kind of allotted based on code to actually go towards either or, non-resident or resident?
Yeah, that's a great point. And yeah, one we hear pretty often, that it feels like we're creating opportunity for non-residents first.
Yeah.
Because they have a crack in December rather than in the early summer that we have for residents. For more years than I can probably easily count, non-residents have been limited at a statewide level. There have been 12,815 elk tags and 15,500 deer tags for a long, long time.
You just pulled that number out of your head.
Not a stats
You haven't looked at notes this whole entire time. By the way.
She doesn't.
I don't wanna
she
tell
didn't
you
even
how
bring
many
any in. She just
I know.
came in with a glass of tea and was ready to rock.
So if you're listening right now and you think Tara has a teleprompter in front of her, you're wrong. All right, go on.
It's only the 40th time I've had to talk through this. No big deal.
Yeah. It's practice for the commission meeting. Is
Perfect.
Really what it is.
Yeah, that's what I needed.
Yeah.
Yep.
Sorry, the 15,270 tags.
Oh, she forgot.
Sorry, Tara.
Take
Yeah,
it all
all
back.
good. So non-residents, they've been limited for a long time, and that non-resident number is a completely separate bucket of tags from any resident tag out there. The easiest example is resident deer tags. Those are not limited. You're not limited by area, not limited by quantity. So selling this limited bucket of non-resident tags has in no way an impact to the number of or areas in which a resident can hunt on a deer tag, regular or whitetail. Elk feels a little different because there's a couple cap zones for residents where there is a limited number there. Even in cap zones, non-residents are limited to 10% or 15% of that overall cap, and all of those other tags are strictly allocated to residents.
Hey, Connor J here, with a quick correction. That 10 to 15% is actually for the uncapped elk zones, not the capped elk zones. All right, back to the podcast.
And again, that's just some math. That's just math we do every year that we can separate the resident and non-resident number. And based on how many are sold in December to a non-resident, totally doesn't impact what we make available for a resident in July.
And that, like you said, that number may change. The ratio or the percentage might not change based on statute or whatever, but that number might change. That's allotted, right?
Yep, exactly. But no more than 10 or 15% for non-residents.
Gotcha. Can you talk about the non-resident disabled American veterans, DAV?
Yep. Our DAV hunters, we hear from them all year, excited about going for a tag in December because a DAV tag is significantly discounted from the cost of a full-priced non-resident tag. So you do have to qualify first to be what we consider a disabled American veteran, which is 40% disabled or greater as certified by Veterans Affairs. But once you're certified with us, that means you're eligible for discounted licenses and discounted tags.
Okay.
So this upcoming year, it's going to feel a little bit different for DAV folks than it has in years past because we actually have a lot of unique opportunities for them. They can basically apply as a quote-unquote regular non-resident or apply as a DAV hunter. So they can put their name in the DAV hat or they can put their name in the non-resident hat. And I think that's really important to call out that these folks do have kind of an additional opportunity to pick up a tag. And I call that out specifically for elk because unlike years past, disabled American veterans are only eligible for that discounted tag for uncapped elk zones.
Okay.
In years past, it was any elk tag, but based on the timeline that we had to get the system up and running to make this draw happen, the really unique opportunities that DAV have, we could really only accommodate that on the elk side of things for uncapped elk zones. And again, really calling out, they don't lose the opportunity to apply for a capped elk zone. They can totally apply as a regular non-resident, but the reality is for the DAV priced elk tag, they'll have those uncapped elk zones as that opportunity.
Gotcha. That's a good
Also,
plug.
just to call out the number of disabled American veteran tags statewide that we're issuing is not changing. So
Yep.
that'll be the same as it has been in previous years.
Yep, great call out.
How is that determined?
It's set in Idaho administrative code. So
Okay.
that number back in 2021 when we limited non-residents was established at 500 deer tags, 300 elk tags. And to Alex's point, that'll stay the same this year.
Okay. I'm just curious, how many non-resident DAVs do we get?
Not a small number.
No?
And it's increasing every year.
Okay.
And that gets a little bit into one of the other things we talked about with the first come first serve is in a lot of ways we know we have demand, but we don't have exact numbers because it's hard to really say how many disabled American veterans were standing in line at Sportsman's Warehouse trying to get a tag.
Sure.
So we know there's demand out there on non-resident and disabled American veterans. We're pretty excited to be able to get some firm information and data on how many are really out there trying to purchase one this year.
Yeah, and as much as it's not like the flashy part of this whole conversation, it is one of I'm most excited about that fact is we get some information we've never had before, both in our overall demand of non-resident hunters. We've been guessing for the last couple years based on how many people logged in online, anecdotally, how many folks we saw in person, but we really have never had some number to say 50,000 non-residents tried to get a tag in Idaho last year. And we also have never known where were they trying to get a tag. Were they really going for Sawtooth, but they were all sold out, and so was their second choice and third choice, and that's how they ended up with a Middle Fork tag? We've never really known that.
Interesting.
And this is going to change the game a little bit. We'll know how many non-residents really want an Idaho tag and where do they want to go.
Is it a little scary or staggering to picture that number?
It'll
A
be
little.
it'll be interesting for sure.
Yeah.
Tara doesn't want to admit it to herself, but she actually is a stats girl. And,
You've called me. You called my bluff.
yeah.
Are you guys going to start a little pool around the office to see like which tag or unit or anything is the hottest one that you guys predict?
I think a lot of that we have, just anecdotally some pretty
based on what you hear from people.
good idea of I think I can go out on a limb and say Sawtooth is going to be a fair number of people's first choice. Having said that, really excited to see some of that information. Disabled American veterans, for example, we know there's a large amount of people out there going after these, and it'll be interesting to see that data as well as information for what the demand truly is. We know it's really high statewide. There's some specific areas we really don't know. We know someone bought that tag. We don't know if it was their first choice or not. So being able to see what people's first choice is and that whole behavior will be some really interesting information.
Yeah.
Sure.
So juggling this all in my brain again and going back to DAV for a second. So they can apply for the DAV tags or they can apply for the regular non-resident tags, but for
I would say and or.
Okay, thank you for that clarification.
Yep.
And on top of that, their DAV license is significantly discounted, so they're getting a discount for both of those.
Absolutely. Yep.
So they're getting some significant benefits there, in this whole process. Even though there's a very limited number of DAV tags, they still have a lower barrier of entry to apply for any of these tags.
Totally agree.
Okay, great.
And there's also other tags they get a discount for as well to call out. If it's not obvious, I'm a bear hunter, so they get a discount on bear tags as well, for example. So that's an opportunity they have. So,
What other tags get discounted?
All of them.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Really all of them. And pretty significantly. So,
Yeah.
for context, a non-resident general tag is $651.75, and a disabled American veteran elk tag is
$36.75.
Yeah, $36.75.
Dang.
It's a great program that recognizes the sacrifices that those groups made for the country, and we're happy to do it. And
Yeah.
so
come on up and shoot a bear.
And honored.
yeah, also come out and get a bear.
Well, I mean, no doubt we're going to get a lot of questions
Yep.
leading up to that December 1st and the December 5th date.
And we know, we've seen already on social media that there's groups preparing. there's hunting groups already talking to their people saying, hey, there's this big change in Idaho.
Yeah, which is funny, and it's timing wise because we're all all residents are out actively hunting right now, but they're all talking about next year's hunt.
Right.
But that's how it goes. But I mean, what are some ways that folks can stay in the know? Following social media you mentioned there's some web pages. I'm assuming we have some email correspondence and stuff. We've done a lot of outreach already since the summer, since May, since this was initiated. So what are some other ways that folks can not miss the boat?
Yeah, definitely. If you're plugged into our social media, we'll be keeping you up to date on that front. Also got some targeted emails out to anyone that's bought a non-resident license in the last 5 years. You're going to hear from us via email here very shortly. But probably best place to peruse at your leisure is our website. So there is a page specifically dedicated to the non-resident draw, our FAQs. We're going to hopefully have some how-to videos up here shortly.
Sweet.
Some better information on what the process will actually look like when we get to December 5th from a screenshot perspective. But we'll provide y'all with that link to our website, and that's probably the best place to stay as up to date as you can.
Anything in the app?
The app doesn't necessarily have anything fun and shiny to share. You can always get to our website from the app, and you can always get to your profile so you can update your hunter ed number, make sure your bow hunter safety's there, and you can even apply from your app when we get to December. But nothing in there that'll keep you up to date as much as our website.
Well, and all the regs are on there too.
Yeah.
Yep.
And from the website, you can also sign up for emails too.
Yep.
To get them directly sent, this information sent to you.
The non-resident supplemental brochure should be coming out relatively shortly as well. That is a treasure trove of information. Encourage folks to study that carefully. They'll need that information in order to apply. I believe you can access that through the app by going into the...
Yeah, good point. Similar to how you can get to the big game season and rules brochure, we'll have the non-res supplemental brochure on that same page as well. And that's going to have like the hunt number you need to enter for your application. It'll have even more FAQs. It'll explain how all these crazy non-resident quotas work. Absolutely treasure trove of info. That should be coming here before the end of October.
Very cool. And say I'm a picky hunter and I have a question that's not in the FAQs. Who should I call or reach out to or email or whatever directly if I have like a really specific question related to this process?
Shoot us an email. Our licenses staff is monitoring our email inbox any time of the day that we're here, Monday through Friday, 8 to 5 Mountain.
Is that your personal email?
Yeah, I'll give it to you here. And that's licenses at idfg.idaho.gov.
Perfect.
Also in the show notes.
Also in the show notes.
We'll put it in the show notes. Well, sweet. Is there anything else you guys want to talk about or add or anything before we close up shop?
Do you guys want to do a recap? Just to recap?
Yeah. I think talk about how and where people can apply would be the last thing.
Yep.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, so to kind of put it all in a bow, big takeaways for non-resident folks wanting to hunt deer or elk general season in 2026. Get ready to start planning now. You can buy your license December 1st of the upcoming year, and applications open December 5th through the 15th. When those applications open December 5th, you can go online at gooutdoorsidaho.com. You can give our toll-free number a call, which you can find on our website, or you can go in person to any of our regional offices or licensed vendor locations. And you'll just log into your profile. There's a big fat tile at the top that says submit an application, and you'll be able to submit your choices, all 5 of them potentially, for your deer or elk application in your profile there. And then once you check out, it's sitting in the hopper for us to run those random draw applications in late December and post results in January.
Can I put in a little
Plug.
I would highly encourage non-residents when they're going through that process, grab your hunt numbers. Make sure you know what your hunt number is. If you're going to a physical location or you're going online, you're going to need that. You can't type in McCall A tag and pull up an elk tag. You can't go to your vendors and say, I want to hunt in Unit 39. You're going to need that hunt code to be able to enter.
Did you guys talk about the hunt planner yet or at all?
We haven't yet.
Does that kind of tie into this, and would that be a useful tool, or is that something that they're not integrated yet.
They're not integrated, but it's always a great planning tool. If you know you want to hunt in Unit 39 or you don't know where you want to hunt, that's a great resource on our website for you to see harvest statistics and unit boundaries and zone boundaries, season information. Great planning tool, but it doesn't necessarily integrate with the hunt code you might need.
Okay.
That hunt code is going to be in the non-resident supplemental brochure that we should have posted here in late October.
Sweet, which is coming up. By the way, when we're recording this, you guys are
Shortly.
talking about doing this now, middle of October as we're recording this, but this might come out in early November. But just a side note. I'll put that in the show notes too.
Yeah. Just as a side note, we recorded this on Tuesday, October 21st.
That's right. Well, if there's anything else you guys, unless there's anything else you guys want to talk about, seriously, thanks for coming upstairs and chatting with us about this new exciting process. I'm saying exciting because I can see that you guys are actually legit excited about it. I'm sure the rest of your guys' staff are as well.
Yeah.
And I'm sure non-resident hunters will be excited about it, hopefully.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
I think I can say we're really optimistic about it. I think it's going to be a good experience all around for folks. Like I said, being able to apply as a group for non-residents is a great opportunity, and so
we held out
not having to fly to Idaho to buy your tag. So I think it's a win all around.
We held out as long as we could.
Yeah.
Well, like Alex and Tara said, there's going to be tons of more information coming out leading up to this December date. But also don't be shy about reaching out. We have all kinds of resources and emails and phone numbers and offices and all kinds of stuff that folks can get in touch with. So
Check the website.
Yep. All right, guys. Well, thanks for sitting down with us.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having
Thank
us.
you.